Let's go through the next process here of densifying our surfaces. So I'm going to just go ahead and select all of my lofted surfaces, all 9. And I'm going to go to Properties. And I'm going to change the density down here in the ISO curve density, which we did this yesterday to extract wireframes. And I'm going to bump it up to and this is something I'm just testing because I want to see what's going to look good. So I'm going to go into top view, which would be where we're going to take one of our drawings from and sort of analyze how many lines we have going here. And right now it doesn't look too busy, but it doesn't look too empty either. So I'm going to stick it at 8 as my density. Sure. So you're going to select your lofted surfaces, all of them, which is 9. You're going to go to Properties. And down at the bottom here, we're going to have ISO curve density. Your density is most likely set at 1. And we're going to change that density number to 8. And you'll notice the grid pattern goes from just being one grid to a much denser version of that grid. Eight, right here. Okay, so now that we achieved that, our next step is going to be moving this information that we've created here, which is only going to be our 9 surfaces and our 14 pipes. We're going to export this information into a new file, so that way we can start to create some make 2D drawings off of it. So I'm just going to select all the information, type export, and I'm going to name it similar to our diagram that we worked on yesterday. So ARC2222 Phillips Pavilion analysis, and at the end here I'm just going to put drawings instead of ISO curves. So now you know this is the file where all your drawings are going to be produced. And the word analysis is there is because that's what we're doing. We're analyzing this model and we're creating drawings from it. And I'm going to hit save. And then now this file, I'm going to save this file and I'm going to X out of it. And I'm going to go to the newly saved version here.
Wait, so do you want us to save this on the week 5 thing?
Yeah. And then I want you to take just what we worked on and export it into a new file.
Right.
And name it with the end being analysis _ drawings. So now the only layers I should have is under surfaces, and it should just be lofted surfaces and profile curved pipes. So our next step is to do something very similar to what we did yesterday with our diagrams, and that is going to be extracting the wireframe. So before we do that, we need to create a layer for ourselves. So these wireframes are going to be curves, so I need to create just a curves layer. And then I'm going to create a sub layer under curves, and I'm going to title it wireframe. And I'm going to make that my new layer because that's what we're going to do. We're going to create wireframes. I'm going to turn off my pipes so that way we only have our lofted surfaces. I'm going to select them all and I'm going to type in the command extract wireframe and hit enter. And now if I turn off my lofted surfaces, you'll see all the wireframes are there. Now that we've done that, I'm going to turn my surfaces back on and hide the wireframes I just created. And now that we've extracted those wireframes, we don't need the information on the surfaces anymore. So what I'm going to do is select all these surfaces, go to properties, and I'm not going to change the density back to 1. I'm going to actually, right underneath it, it says show surface isocurves. I'm going to uncheck the visible. And as soon as you uncheck that, all the grid goes away, and now it's just smooth surfaces. It'll help so that way when you have your wireframe on it, it's not going to interfere with the surface wireframes, and now we just have the curve versions, and that's good enough.
How do you do that again?
So you make sure to first select your lofted surfaces, go to properties, and underneath in the isocurve density, underneath density, it says show surface isocurve.
Okay.
And you're going to want to go from visible to uncheck it so it becomes invisible. So now I have all my layers back on, and let's get ready to produce our first drawing here. We have one thing we need to do, or you know what? We're actually good. Let's actually make that first drawing. So I'm going to go into top view. And if your model isn't already, move it away from the 0, 0, 0 point, because that's where your make 2D is going to show up. And you don't want your drawing to show up underneath your model. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this, all the information, and I'm going to do make 2D. For the sake of having more information to work with, I'm going to actually click on show hidden layers. And I'm also going to maintain source layer so that way everything is on its own individual layer for us and not all on one layer. So show hidden lines and maintain source layer. And then I'm going to hit OK and let it do its thing for a second. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this away because it is overlapping. So I'm just going to move it down, and I'm going to choose a consistent increment to move it. I'm going to choose 100 feet and move it to 100 feet down. Anytime I move anything now, I'm going to move it in increments of 100. And if it ends up not being enough, then I'll move it in increments of 150. So I'll just add 50 more feet. And I'm just going to keep everything the same distance moved away from each other. So now you'll see there's a lot of extra information on here, and that has to do with our hidden lines. So when you get a make 2D, everything is going to be unfolded. Here, I'm going to select the hidden and just hide and close that down. And I'm also going to do the same with the make 2D. Actually, I'm going to leave the make 2D open. What I'm going to do is hide the hidden information. So then now I can see what we're working with here. What was that? I moved it down 100 feet. So I'm going to zoom in and kind of see what we're missing, if we're missing any information here. And it does look like this curve did not make it all the way. And you'll see that there's sort of an overlap of two surfaces there. And it looks like it's happening a little bit here as well.
Can I see how many curves total you have?
How many it produced?
Yeah.
A lot. So I've got 353.
Oh. Not 560. Is that gonna make?
I hid my hidden lines. If I turn my hidden lines back on and selected, I got 992. Let's not be so concerned with how many curves each of us have. It's more so that it has the same representation here. And so under your Make 2D area, you have the option of hiding your different curves. So right here, we could actually hide the wireframe if we wanted to. And we could also hide the profile curves, just to see that everything's on its own layers. Okay, so now that we've completed that, let's just know that there is a little bit of manual labor in order to clean this drawing up. It did produce all the information for us, but if you notice, some things are competing with what layer they should have made 2D on. And you'll also notice if you zoom in right here, these actually aren't one consistent line, they're individual lines. And so that's some stuff that'll happen when you make 2D. It's not ever perfect. And so that's just something to keep in mind. We'll deal with that in a little while. So we have our site plan, sort of our top view of our model taken care of, right? So now that we've done that, let's do some elevation views. So our next view, let's go ahead and just take it from, and I'm just going to do one from each side here. I'm going to use front view and right view as my next two Make 2D drawings. So I'm just going to go into front view, or actually you don't need to. I'm going to select the object in top view, click on front view because that's where I'm going to make 2D from, and I'm going to make 2D again. And I'm going to have all the same amount of information. It should all be the same exact variable, so I'm just going to hit OK and let it do its thing. So if I go just in the top view, I'll see it produced the drawing for us here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to select our other Make 2D. So now both of the Make 2D drawings are selected, and I'm going to move both of them together down 100 feet. Now when I deselect it, you'll see all the extra line work that's there. If you were just to turn off the hidden, you'll see that it actually reads a lot better without the hidden information. Whether you decide to use it or not, it's up to you. To reduce down the hidden information, you could potentially hide some of the wireframes that are going on. We may not need the hidden information at all. It's just you want to grab it in case you want to use it. So now that we've produced this one, and we've moved it down, let's make 2D from another view. So I'm going to select the 3D model again, and this time I'm going to do it in right view. Previously we did in front view, so this time I'm going right view, and I'm going to make 2D in right view. Same exact parameters, and hit OK. And now it's produced that for us. So I'm going to hold down Shift, select all the information. Make sure if you have your hidden layer off to turn it on. So that way you can select everything and move everything at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and again move down 100 feet. So now we've done a site view, a top view. We've done 2 elevation views. And so now our next step would be to, let's actually cut into this 3-dimensional object. So that way we can start to see what it looks like with a cut plane.